Being able to travel solo is incredibly empowering. No need to wait for someone to join you. You can ride as easy, hilly, or heavy as you want at your preferred pace. As a female cyclist who has done multiple solo trips abroad, here are some of my preparation and mental tips for balancing adventure and safety. Just a heads up, I'm providing these tips as a voiceover from footage on my first 5-day solo cycling adventure in northern Italy in the mountainous Dolomites. So, I hope this inspires you to go out there and explore this beautiful world.
1. Know your bicycle. Knowing the basics of bike maintenance is essential. If fixing a flat makes you nervous when riding alone, build up confidence by attending a fix-a-flat clinic or watching YouTube videos on how to do it. Practice at home until you can fix a flat in under 10 minutes, or even better, 5. Ensure you have all the necessary repair kit tools. If your derailleur hanger breaks, carry a spare. If something comes loose, make sure you have a multi-tool to tighten it. Approach your bike with familiarity rather than seeing it as a foreign object significantly eases diagnosing and fixing issues. My motivation to become more comfortable with my bike came from the desire to bring my own bike abroad, which meant learning to disassemble and assemble it. I practiced at least 20 times before going abroad, bombarding my mechanically inclined friends with questions about how bike parts should be assembled, like whether a particular ring should have a gap. There were brief moments of panic, but they were alleviated by the reassurance that 1, I had friends to help, and 2, a replacement part, if needed, was just a few clicks away. This experience definitely taught me how to soothe my anxiety. I went from being intimidated to mostly feeling confident and connected with my bike. It makes a massive difference. 2. Getting a professional tune-up before your trip. Have the mechanic thoroughly inspect your bike for issues. I can do the basics like check my brake pad and tire wear. When it comes to brake bleeding, truing my wheels, or checking my cables, I leave that to the mechanic. It'll give you peace of mind that your bike is in its best condition before your adventure begins. I do this at least 2 to 3 weeks out to make sure I have time to order any new parts, test ride after the tune-up, or in case my mechanic has a backlog. 3. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. I say this because there will be many times when we need to reframe our mindset. For example, when you immediately label yourself as lost, it can trigger a downward spiral of catastrophic thinking and worst-case scenarios, leading to feelings of hopelessness. Instead, catch yourself before this mental descent begins. Rather than declaring, I'm lost and there's no hope, ask yourself, what can I do with my current knowledge to find a road or get closer to civilization? Being lost then transforms into an opportunity to learn more about yourself and your surroundings. Trust in your ability to find your way back, whether through backtracking or seeking help from locals. It's crucial to maintain a solution-oriented mindset and remain open to all possibilities that come to mind. Take inventory of your resources. How much food and water do you have? What are your options for finding a path if you happen to be in the trails? Where's the nearest town you can go to? Become strategic about survival by assessing your available resources. Determine how far you're willing to go to reach civilization or your next source of food and water. You'll find a way. 4. Be aware of your surroundings. Keep your head on a swivel when you're solo traveling. Be hyper-aware of your environment. Scope out who's around you. Think ahead about the potential exit strategies and keep mental notes of safe spots nearby. Know your transportation options to get back to home base or your next location in case of emergency. My personal rule when I'm out and about solo and or on a bicycle is no headphones or earphones, no music, anything that can obstruct my situational awareness. No matter how many miles of road I have to ride through, I've learned to be at peace with my own thoughts. It's better to be overly cautious than caught off guard. So, how can you practice increasing your awareness? Start with your senses. Every so often, pause and name 5 things that you see, 5 things that you hear, 5 things that you smell, 5 things that you can feel, and as many things as you can taste. Name as much as you can because it serves as a way for you to get in tune with your body and come back to the present. The more you practice, the more you realize that, in the end, we could only control what's in the present and how we choose to respond to it. 5. Speaking of awareness, observe the nuances of where you'll be riding. Being confident on the road starts with becoming familiar with your riding environment. Each new territory brings unique discoveries, the flow of traffic, presence of bike lanes, and fellow cyclists sharing your path. I love observing how different areas have their own cycling personality. When I ride somewhere new, I pay attention to how drivers interact with pedestrians and other cyclists. I look for dedicated bike infrastructure and spot other cyclists if possible. This, in a way, dictates how you would engage with the flow of traffic. Of course, if you're following other cyclists, take it with a grain of salt. When I was in Vietnam, I had to be assertive and look for openings in traffic and accelerate my way in. In Japan, you wait until the lights tell you to go, even if there are no cars for miles away. 6. Research your primary location. As much as I enjoy the quiet remote areas of the world, when I'm alone, I also seek places that are well lit and usually find populated public places to explore. I do research about the areas I'm staying or riding through and make sure the area is safe and has what I need for the night. I'll read reviews about accommodations, use Google Street View to get a feel of the location, talk to others who have been there and hear their thoughts. Ultimately, to enjoy yourself, you want to feel comfortable wherever you go. I'm fortunate to experience more kindness and openness during my adventures than awkward or scary moments. It also helps that I'm more of a daylight person and go to bed early. In hostels, I pay for my own room or I find an all-women's setup. A hotel is dandy too. Finding a place with a front desk adds a layer of security as well. Contact your accommodations to double check that they have a safe place to store your bike. 7. Bring a headlamp. If you have a long day ahead or you're starting late, bring a headlamp. You never know how long you'll end up staying out, or you may take an unexpected detour. This has saved me multiple times when, in my mind, I think I'd be back home by sunset, then end up riding an extra hour through the night. I'm always thankful I have one on hand. 8. Nail down the hand signals. Hand signals are the universal road language that keeps you predictable and others safe while making your ride more enjoyable. Starting with simple turns in an empty parking lot helps me build confidence for one-handed riding. These skills extend beyond just signaling. They'll let you grab a drink, reach for a snack, or adjust your gear while you're staying steady. It's a skill I encourage everyone to practice and nail down. 9. Embrace high visibility. Make yourself seen by having at least a rear light and some high-vis clothing. A front light is helpful too, especially if you're a morning or night person. Wear bright colors and/or reflective gear that stand out against urban and natural backgrounds. Yellow is my highlight color, so I wear a helmet or a hair tie that flaps in the back. I also use this Garmin Varia rear taillight that beeps at me when there's a car coming 450 feet from behind. Add any measures that'll make you more seen on the road. As I've gotten older, being visible is far more important than trying to look like a ninja on a bicycle. 10. Share your adventure. At least let one person know where you are. Modern tech makes this so seamless. You can set up your bike computers and phones so that your contact can see your location at any time. I share my planned route beforehand too to help my emergency contact understand exactly where I'll be riding. Life 360 is a location-based app that's operating system agnostic, so it works both on Android and iOS. If you're in a remote area with zero phone signal, check out satellite communicators like the Garmin InReach, which allow you to send short text messages to loved ones about your status. I had this handy when I was in the mountains of northern Vietnam, and it was a reliable guarantee that I had some way of communicating with my emergency contacts. I always check in at least twice. Because of the different time zones, I let my emergency contacts know when I start and how many hours I expect to finish in. And then when I get to my next location, I check in with them saying I made it safely. If they don't hear from me, I already lay out steps for what they should do next. Definitely have a protocol in place for your emergency contacts. 11. Seek cycling-friendly communities. Riding in places that welcome cyclists creates amazing experiences. Usually in those cycling-friendly communities, you'll find well-maintained bike paths and lanes, local bike shops, cycling groups, and usually clear signage and infrastructure for cyclists. For the past 5 years, I've traveled to Europe for my cycling adventures because of the wealth of available information when it comes to routes and the massive network. I found an organization that hosted group rides during my time in Italy. Also, I unknowingly booked my trip around the time a popular cycling event happened called Dolomite Bike Day, where the city shuts down over 30 miles of road to cars for cyclists. The energy was electric. It was so invigorating to be surrounded by other cycling enthusiasts. 12. Keep your route accessible. Having your route readily available on your bike computer or phone helps maintain smooth, confident riding. This mounted setup lets me stay focused on enjoying the ride while knowing exactly where I'm headed. I load my routes on my bike computer ahead of time, which means I can minimize any mid-ride stops and keep my momentum flowing. Because the area is new, I'm significantly slower when I ride by myself. I take my sweet time on descents, especially if it's a windy road. I pace myself on climbs because I want to have energy to make it to the top. And I stop whenever my heart tells me. I soak it all because how often am I going to find myself in this area? 13. Start local if you want to build confidence in traveling solo. Begin with an overnight cycling trip near your home, even if it's just a few hours away. There's comfort in knowing you're close to civilization while exploring something new on your own, which is a significant step in itself. Here, you'll test your self-sufficiency, check if you have the necessary tools and gear, and note any concerns to address for future solo trips. You'll feel more comfortable and secure in your setup for your next ride. Spoiler, 90% of what you fear won't happen, but it's reassuring to know that you're prepared if issues arise. Before the cycling adventure, I had already built resilience from a fair amount of international solo travel without a bike. I learned to manage my anxiety as they come. Traveling with my bike, I recognized that with new experiences come mistakes and lots of learning. Processing unfamiliar information in a new environment takes twice as long as expected, so patience is key. Be proud of yourself for stepping beyond your comfort zone. You're brave and courageous for facing the world in ways that can be hard, challenging, and scary. You'll only grow and become stronger from these experiences. Once you conquer your first solo overnight trip, congrats! You've officially become a solo female traveler. I'm just scratching the surface here, but if you have any other tips to help our fellow lady cyclists, please drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for listening. Bye!